What's up, P. Miller? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Got a little grass-fed beef today. Good old-fashioned grass-fed. Your stomach is obliterated, huh? What are you eating anything unusual? Yeah, it's Corona, bro. It's got to be Corona. The best thing to do if you have Corona is get Lyme disease, and then you can have Corona with Lyme. Yeah, are you eating anything out of the usual, P. Miller, or... I eat the same stuff all the time, so I tend to, I don't really have any issues because I just kind of stick to the same stuff. But I never had stomach problems in my life, to be honest with you. I was always one of those guys that could eat anything. So it's no surprise I don't have any issues eating this stuff, but everybody's different, man. What's up, Martin O'Donnell, Chris Parks, and then FYSI. Welcome. Oh, you ate junk food? Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure what it is, dude. Without a freaking doubt, man. Without a doubt. I got wrecked by 2 potato chips and like 2 wasabi peas. Talk about junk food, man. And if you said you ate more than usual, then you probably ate more than 2 chips, I'm guessing. But I had 2 potato chips and 2 wasabi peas. Like, pretty much ruined my day, dude. So, you gotta stay away from that junk food, man. Especially if you're on this diet. When you introduce that stuff back into your system, you just start detoxing immediately. Because your body is like just a highly tuned machine at this point, you know? I don't know how long you've been doing the good eating and stuff, or raw primal, or whatever you're doing. But now that I've been on this for like almost 2 years, man, 2 potato chips wreck me. I feel it right away, man. Daniel says, man, you interrupt my circadian rhythm. Is it a weird time over there? What's up, UI? FYSI says that Miller's cow milk is golden in color. Yeah, I wonder, is it Jersey or Guernsey, probably? Even though, you know, it depends on the season, too, a lot of times. And the weather and stuff, but even the Holstein milk that I'm getting, it'll turn more golden in the summertime. And it's actually kind of yellow as it is. It's whitish yellow. Yeah, it's probably detox, P. Miller. I went through some pretty heavy detoxes when I transitioned on this diet. Were you vegan before by chance, P. Miller? Because I've talked to a lot of people over the past year about their diets and digestion and stuff, and it seems like the people that were vegans before have the hardest time digesting food. So, just curious if you were vegan or vegetarian at one point. Daniel says it's 12. Oh, basically at 12:07. Yeah, it's a little late, huh? Yeah, I wish I could go earlier, man. I get off work at like 3:30, so it's actually a miracle I can do it even this early, because a lot of people work till like 5:30 around here, and it's only 5 o'clock. Ivan says, Wes, do you get milk that tastes like ice cream? Oh yeah, dude, raw milk, good raw milk tastes like vanilla ice cream for sure. It's good stuff, man. Excuse me. Martin O'Donnell says I ate some pasta and crashed on my couch for 2 hours. Yeah, that'll do it, man. That'll do it. For sure. Pasta's the worst. It's so tempting though, I get it. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Good grass-fed milk tastes like ice cream, man. Daniel says you softened and got tougher at the same time in the last couple months. Wes, your transformation is remarkable. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's interesting. You guys can notice that. I feel the transformation going on inside of me as well. And yeah, I just feel it's amazing, man, that I'm like 20 months into this and I'm still transforming. It's really weird. Even at my age, even being in my 30s, you know what I mean? Like, imagine someone younger than me, your body can transform even more rapidly. But it just goes to show, man, it's never too late to turn your health around and your life around and stuff like that. So, and it's got me, I'm more at peace now than I've ever been in my life. And because I feel like I now have like a future, you know? Before on the standard diet, like I was just a wreck, man. I was just like struggling every day just to make it through the day. You know what I mean? And I was always like searching for something that I could never find. And I found a lot of it through this food. And then a lot of it through kind of like my spiritual practices as well. But the diet had a big factor in that as well. Because I think in order to get your spirit in the right place, you have to get your physical body in the right place too. It all works together, man. But yeah, I'm just really curious what is in store for me in the next like 5 years if I've done this rapid of a transformation over the last 2 years. It's really cool, man. P. Miller says I'm never vegan, but I did eat terrible my whole life. Yeah. If you ate terrible your whole life, you're probably paying for that right now, you know? Yeah, try UI has got a good recommendation. Try, as long as you can do it, raw eggs and raw milk maybe. Just raw eggs and raw milk for a while. So you're getting at least your nutrients in and stuff. FYSI says the shipping and handling cost sucks, but it's worth it, I think. It does suck, but the way you gotta justify it is like, think about if you've ever gone out like on a night on the town or whatever you want to call it, where you go to the bars or you go to a nice restaurant or you go on like a date with somebody. You're gonna spend like easy. You're gonna spend like $100. You know what I mean? If not like $50 at least. So just look at it like that. You know, just skip one of those evenings and pay shipping and handling to get some of the best food you can get, literally like in the world. Yeah, P. Miller, detoxes can kind of come out of nowhere sometimes. I was like on the diet for like 8 months, 9 months like you, and I got like a fever, like a flu one time where I was like shaking and I had like cold sweats and hot flashes and cold sweats alternating, and I was like shaking and just I had like a really terrible flu. Came out of nowhere, man. So it's just your body's doing what it needs to do. But the junk food is not helping, man. You got to stay away from that stuff, like completely, in order to rapidly heal. Meat Man says, "What's up? How was your day?" It was good. It was good, man. Just typical day at work. Just got off. Took my dogs down to the park a little bit because they've been cooped up all day. So I just got out and got a little sunshine. Team Early, do you feel any difference because of Aajonus' lubrication formula? Not yet. I'm going to make it maybe a few more times and see. I'm going to play this video now that we got like 15 people here. I'm going to play this video I have set up for today. This is by this guy called Maitre Mark. And he brings up some like really interesting points about stuff. So let's check it out. This one's called How Theory and Fiction Destroys Civilization. Sent to me by Michelle Wood. Shout out to Michelle Wood. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, people. Well, close to midday, bit after 11 by the sun. And what I'm going to do is another bloody destruction of bloody civilized bloodization. Now, last time we got to something like education, how education destroys civilization by teaching you stupid bloody things. And a lot of these stupid bloody things are theory. And it's come to my attention that education is mostly based on theory. Theory of relativity, theory of gravity, and a theory is something that cannot be proven. It cannot be proven, that's why it is a theory. If it was proven, it would be a fact, but it's not. And all of these theories, they tend to rest on top of each other. And if you blow one out of the water, all the others must therefore collapse. And I place theory as fiction. And I think that's another bloody thing that destroys civilization, fiction. Why would you care about bloody Lord of the Bloody Rings or Harry bloody Potter? It has no bearing on reality. It's just a story that someone has made up. Now, if you want all this adventure and action, why don't you read a book by a conquistador? Instead of some stupid elf and bloody dwarf and goblin war, why don't you read about how there was these incredible bloody wars between the Aztecs and those Spanish? How the Aztecs would tear their victims' hearts out and sacrifice them to their gods and all of this business. Now, this is just as exciting as Lord of the Bloody Rings, but it's actually real. And you can read about how Charles Martel threw the Muslims out of France after they'd taken France and bloody Spain. And you can read about, I don't know, the explorations of Captain Cook. These are interesting stories. There's a lot of adventure, a lot of strange things, and it's, I think, a much better usage of time than giving a toss about bloody Captain Jack Sparrow. Why don't you read about Blackbeard instead? Can you see my point? You fill your mind with fiction, and then you've got nothing left for reality. Why? How can it help you? It can't help you at all, this fictional rubbish. But if you can read about events that have happened in the past, and history repeats. We've got another invasion of Europe at the moment from the Muslims, and maybe we could look to the past, and someone could do a movie about how Charles Martel pushed them out of Europe or something like this. It would be more educational, and it's got basis in reality. Why fiction? Why? All it does is fill your head with ridiculous ideas. Now, I can take you back to the beginning of fiction, and it's not too long ago. It's like 1712 or something like this, the first fictional book came out. And in these early fictional bloody books, people smiled when they were happy, because the fiction was a world turned upside down, the opposite. And for 5,000 years, people only smiled and laughed at violence, and if they were insane or angry. But then it's changed to supposedly mean happiness. But think about it. All of the jokes are about violence or something unpleasant, and I think that fiction has led us into this strange, strange bloody world, and it's destroying our civilization. Forget about fiction, go for reality. You can read about how to grow your bloody plants well, rather than read about some elf on an adventure with a dwarf. Who cares? They don't exist. And you want some real crazy adventure stories, why don't you read the Bible? Some incredible stories with giants, and I believe these giants were actually real. So anyway, I've hacked down bloody theory as a bit of a, just to add on from that stupid bloody thing called bloody education. And an education, I think, is to befuddle your mind with theory and with fiction. So forget your theories, because they're not proven, they're not a fact. and forget your fiction, because there are much, much more interesting stories in reality. Okay? I'm heading off into the city soon, so I'm going to say goodbye now. Catch you later.
I couldn't agree more with that, man. I'm glad Michelle sent me that video today, because I was never interested in Lord of the Rings, man. Never interested. I'd never seen the movies, never read the books. I actually have the books. I've had the books for well over 20 years sitting on my shelf. Never cracked them open. Never could even get into it. And I lost interest in fiction like over 20 years ago. I couldn't get into fiction anymore. I stopped watching movies, stopped getting into TV shows, stopped reading fictional books. And it's everything you said about education being based on theory is correct as well. We talk about that a lot with science, and how the food-based science and nutritional science is basically incorrect in so many ways, because it's all based on theories that aren't true. For instance, the theory that viruses are contagious has never been actually proven. And so they build all of these things like vaccines upon these false theories. It doesn't make any sense. So, you just can't trust the education system because it's all based on theory. And it's all tied in also with what I was talking about with scams on my last stream, on how basically the whole world is built on scams. And there's major scams that are being pushed out into the world, and then everything else is being layered on top of that. So once you buy the major scam, then it's easier to sell you the smaller scams. And so, for instance, the biggest scam that has ever been sold to the world is that God never existed. That's the biggest scam of all time. There's nothing bigger than that the devil's pushing on the world. And so once you buy into that, once you buy into the scam or the theory that God doesn't exist, then it's easier to sell you all the other scams, like drugs, alcohol, and all the other stuff. So it's very interesting, man. Scams are built on scams, theories are built on theories, and none of it's true. So it's very fascinating stuff, man. I just thought I'd play that video, and if you're interested in some more outside the box wisdom like that, I suggest you sub to that guy's channel, because he seems like he knows what's going on, man. He's like hanging out in the forest, doing his own thing. Thank God he's got a little phone to stream some videos, but interesting stuff, man. He was the same guy that I played the Smiling Conspiracy on. Daniel Miachevich says, this dude gets it. Yeah, he gets it more than almost anybody I've seen on YouTube. Like, he's out there hacking bushes with machetes, and he's crazy. Cody Hamlin says, I had raw scallops last night. Wow, so good. I might have to try that, man. Never had scallops. Lost Media says, I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy once a year. It's too good. I couldn't even get through like the first couple pages, man. I don't know what it is. I've read a lot of books in my life too. That fantasy fiction stuff, it's just not for me, man. Not for me. Video games become the logical next step for students because their entire day is fiction already. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I quit playing video games well over a year ago too. That was another step in my development. I was like playing like Halo all the time, like all the freaking time, man, like hours and hours and hours a day. And I was like, this is like a simulation of life. Like, I'm not even doing real life. This is a simulation of life. So I decided to quit and start a real life, you know? But yeah, I don't know how I feel about fiction, man. I've had these same exact sentiments over the last couple years before I even saw this video. So I think everybody's kind of waking up to the same thing. Mike says, I'm really confused on the virus thing. Can someone clear what they do and how they work up? Yeah, so basically they're solvents. They're proteins manufactured by your cells individually. And they're recruited by your body when your body's trying to remove a toxin that is too toxic for bacteria or parasites to digest and remove. For instance, like a chemical, okay? Like a man-made chemical. A bacteria in your body is going to have a hard time removing a man-made chemical because the chemical will kill the bacteria in a lot of cases, right? So when your body gets so toxic, full of chemicals, your body actually manufactures virus from the cell, and it is a dead protein. It's not alive, and it's like a scrubber, and it goes through and it scrubs the cell clean of whatever toxin has invaded your body. And so that's basically the explanation there. Not transmutable. They're not transmutable between humans. They're not transmutable between animals and humans or anything like that. The only way that you can get a virus from something else is by getting it injected into you, which is really crazy because that's what vaccines are. P. Miller says coronavirus, COVID-19. COVID translate to Kobe. Book that predicts coronavirus was written exactly 20 weeks before Kobe Bryant's death. What's the book? Called COVID-19? Is that what you're talking? I don't understand the book. What's the book? Yeah, Maitre Mark. The Australian guy's name is Maitre Mark. Maitre-Mark. End titles, Hey Wes, when airing out high meat, is it best to stir the meat around or to leave it as it? Yeah, I like to stir it. So yeah, stirring it up. Get the bottom meat like floated to the top. Meat Man says, do you think corn or oats are worse for your health? It's a good question. I'm gonna guess corn, because oats seem like they've been around for probably longer than the man-made corn that we have today. Because if you look at the man-made corn we have today, it doesn't resemble anything what corn used to look like. Corn actually used to look like little oats, kind of. So I think oats. I'm gonna guess oats on that one. P. Miller says The Eyes of Darkness by Dean Koontz. That predicted the coronavirus, huh? What did he call it in the book? There's a lot of virus stories, you know? Like The Stand by Stephen King is one. Yeah, I don't sun gaze per se, but when the sun's going up in the morning and stuff, I like to just kind of look at it a little bit. I don't have time to sit there and stare at the sun for 2 hours a day, but I try to look at it as much as I can when I'm outside. Let's put it that way. So like in the morning, let's say as I'm like, if I'm at work or walking to work or something like that, or I'm outside and the sun's up, I like to look at it. And it's interesting, like it's really hard to look at sometimes, like first thing in the morning, but once you look at it for a little bit, you get used to it. And I was telling my buddy, I was like, you gotta stare at the sun, man, it's good for you. And he's like, nah, it's bad for your eyes. People are so brainwashed, man. Daniel says, how many carbs do you guys eat daily? Approximately, I get around 50 to 100 grams from milk and honey. That sounds about right for me. I wonder how many carbs are in milk. look that up real quick. $12 grams in a cup. Four cups in a quart. So I'm getting like 48. Yeah, I'm getting probably like, 60 or 70 grams a day of carbs and just milk. And then with the honey, I think I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there, probably around 75 to 100 grams of carbs a day from milk and honey. That seems about right, man. Seems all right. Sometimes when I add a little bit of fruit, like in the springtime here, I'll be adding some fruit. Might go up or down. But it depends on if I have my little nightly, I've been having a little nightly like milk and honey glass before bed. And like that shit is really good, man. I feel like it helps me sleep too. Some good beef, man. Even though it's like been frozen for a little while, this is like some really good grass-fed beef. I'm gonna try to get some. Grass-fed veal coming up here in like May. My farmer just told me he's gonna have some veal available, so that should be interesting. Haven't tried veal yet. It's kind of expensive, but I think I'm gonna buy a beef quarter anyways. Good stuff. The eggs are getting good, man. My farmer's got some really good eggs. I feel pretty lucky. I'm not gonna have to really order much, I don't think, from Miller's anymore, because I got pretty good access to cream now. So, and my farmer was telling me a good way to make butter is with a paint shaker. It's like $100 on Amazon. And you just put your butter, or you put your cream in a paint shaker, and it makes butter in like a couple minutes, which sounds really cool. But I'm really wondering the difference between cream and butter. Like, what is the actual difference? I mean, it's just you're separating the whey. So wouldn't you get the same nutrients just by eating the cream? I'm not really sure what's the point in making butter anymore. Because my farmer was talking to me about it, and he's like, my farmer doesn't even make butter. So he kind of had me thinking about that. It's a little easier to eat, I guess, because it's like solid, it's chunky, you know? But, I don't know, man. I might just start eating cream. I'm going to have to think about that. Like, I might just start putting like 6 or 8 tablespoons of cream in my milk, you know, and I could just drink that with my meals. Hey. What are you chewing? What are you chewing? No. What are you chewing? That's a no-no. I knew he would freaking eat that too. My dog's eating a thumbtack. Fucking dogs are crazy, man. They eat anything, man. I've seen my dog eat rocks. Right now he's chewing on a sharp thumbtack. Caleb Huang says, discovered in early 1900s, you can recover your vision through a series of extensive eye exercises. Orthopedic industry suppressed this to sell glasses contacts. I had to research it. Sounds legit. Pablo Pedanto says the nutrient profile would be the same, I feel. It would. P. Miller says Aajonus says butter is easier to digest. He does say that, but I wonder why. Like, why exactly it is. Caleb says cream is harder to digest, but it feeds the nervous system much better than butter. Not supposed to eat cream with meat or anything, really. I think you're right, but I'm wondering why. Why can't you eat cream with meat, but you can eat butter with meat? What's the reason for that? Daniel says butter is denser, has more K2. It's true, yeah. K2 does depend on if it's summer or winter. This, I'm pretty sure, is summer butter, because I ordered this like a while ago. I ordered this like in the fall. It's been in my freezer for a while. That's one thing I've noticed. Freezing butter, it doesn't affect it at all, man. Not the flavor, not the taste or anything. Caleb says Aajonus said cream would affect digestion with meat. I think I do remember him saying that. I don't think I'm going to switch to cream anytime soon because butter's just so good. But I'm just curious. What is it about the whey? What is it about the whey in the cream that makes it harder for your body to digest, you know? Maybe it's just the protein. Digesting the protein along with the fat. It's just too heavy. Because the whey is just basically protein, right? KV says my farmer doesn't sell butter either due to short shelf life. You know, I guess it does, but it really doesn't if you just freeze it. Like this butter's been frozen for like months and it's still like super tasty. But I could see why they wouldn't want to sell frozen butter either, but interesting. I guess they just put it on you to make your own butter, you know? But I'm probably going to start making my own butter out of cream instead of ordering it from Miller's. KV says, isn't cream just milk fat? Doesn't make much sense. I know. It doesn't make like logical sense to me. I'm still trying to put this together. Why is cream so hard to digest? It's just milk fat. I mean, there's cream in here. There's cream in my milk every time I drink milk. I guess there's got to be an explanation for it. Where's Aajonus when you need him? Mike says, is pasteurized grass-fed milk still nutritious? Yeah, not really, man. I would say overall, it's a net loss in nutrition. You're going to have probably some fat in there, you know? You could consider that nutrition, but it's going to be like fractionated fat molecules because it's homogenized. And so that's going to be like a net loss. And then you're going to have some other stuff in there, but it's pasteurized. So it's basically like cooked out and fractionated and all sorts of stuff that it makes it hard for your body to assimilate. So you're just really creating more problems than you're gaining by drinking the pasteurized grass-fed milk. It's still going to seem satiating, probably, but like over long term, it's going to accumulate in your body and it's just going to be a bad deal. You got to read Devil in the Milk, man. That's a good one. Daniel says, I don't have the answer why, but cream really feels like it sits in your gut if you eat a lot of it. Yeah, I know what you mean. But Caleb said, cream gets me high, butter not so much. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, because cream is so nourishing to the nervous system, man. Like when I first got my hands on some cream after a while, it just put me to sleep, man. This grass-fed beef is freaking good, man. I haven't had 100% grass-fed beef in a long time. It's been months. Super good. Meat Man says pasteurized kills you and the milk. Yes, it does. What's up, Chicken Jar? How's the Pitskis, man? Jason Smith, do y'all eat ground beef? I used to. When I first got my very first beef quarter from my grass-fed beef farmer, I didn't really know any better, and I just had him grind up like everything into ground beef, man. I don't know what I was thinking. So I ended up with like 50 pounds of ground beef, and I ate that shit for like a month straight, and I told myself I'd never eat ground beef ever again, because it's kind of nasty, man. I mean, it's not nasty, but it gets a little old after a while, man. Just compared to like chuck roast or steaks, there's just no comparison. And I think you're introducing a lot more oxidation in there when you start grinding up into little pieces like that. So you're basically just diminishing a lot of the nutrients out of it, you know? Mike says, where I'm from, everything is banned. Complete nanny state in Australia. Oh, that sucks. I hate hearing that type of stuff. So you don't even have like raw milk down there? Let's check out realmilk.com. See if they got Australia. Real Milk Finder. Actually, let's check out eatwild.com. They don't include Australia down here. Let's see. International. Yeah, they don't have Australia on here, do they? You guys don't have raw milk anywhere in Australia? You got to be able to get it somewhere, right? Can you go to a farm and get it? Sometimes you got to work hard to get this stuff, man. You know? I've had to do a lot of research, and I've had to contact a lot of different farmers, and some of them don't contact your back right away. And then sometimes a week later you'll get hit up, and you know. Chicken Jar says the Pitskis are growing really fast. They got is fat, and also grass-fed beef is what's up. I'm having some right now. It's pretty good, man. It's some good stuff. Right, doggy? My doggy's got some big old chunks of meat today. Caleb says, I heard ground beef is the homogenized versions of milk. Not good for that reason. That's a good way to put it, man. Yeah, it's a good way to articulate that. Because you're basically like fractionating the proteins and the fats by slicing them up. Daniel says, finally I found a source for chuck roast. It's so good. Only bad side is it comes from Ireland. Really? So you got to go all the way to Ireland to get chuck roast? Crazy, man. Where are you located at again, Daniel? That's insane. You can't just go to the grocery store and get chuck roast? P. Miller says, does anyone here drink cucumber juice? I gotta try that, man. I'm gonna try that. Jason Smith, LMAO, it's not nearly as good as real cuts, but it's only $7 a pound, and the good stuff is $12 at the least. Yeah, if you're talking about grass-fed, yeah. it gets a little expensive. Daniel says in Australia you can buy it from pet stores. That's a good suggestion. That's a good suggestion. Yeah, go to pet stores and just drink that stuff. That's how they circumvent the laws in a lot of places. Is it's legal for pet consumption, and so they just market it as pet food. Probably a lot of people probably overlook it and think it's actually pet food, but they're doing that to sell it to humans. Daniel says it's imported from Ireland to Croatia. I am in Croatia. Damn, no chuck roast in Croatia? What's the reason for that? You guys not have much beef cattle out there, or no? Chicken Jar says, I got one of my friends in Eastern Europe on raw milk. He's like 46. He's getting a liter for 50 cents. That's lucky. It's pretty cheap, man. Lunar Angel says, I drink milk sold for pets only. Nice. Yeah, that's how you get around it, guys. Yeah, drink that pet food milk. That raw milk for pets. It's a sneaky little way to get around it. Pablo Pedanto, that's how it's sold in Florida, not for human consumption, sold at farmers markets. Thanks for telling me that, man. My boss, his sister is really sick and she lives in Florida, and we're trying to get her on this diet. She's on all sorts of medication and all that stuff, and we're trying to figure out a way to get her raw milk. And I wasn't sure what the laws were in Florida. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to tell her to check out some farmers markets. Daniel says we export all the good stuff and what's left is either low quality or too expensive. No shit. Beach Fitness, have you noticed any difference with your dreams since eating this diet? Yes, but the most significant change in my dreams was after I quit smoking weed. That was like enormous change in my dreams, man. I basically didn't dream for like 10 years. And then I quit smoking weed, and I've had dreams every single night since then. So extremely vivid dreams, unbelievable dreams, wild dreams, flying around in the sky, nightmares with monsters, just the craziest stuff you can imagine. It was such a major difference, man. So I recommend anybody that smokes weed right now, man, to quit, because I don't think it's that good for you. Especially if you're over medicating like I was with that stuff. But I honestly think a big part of that too is my diet. Like everything that I am changing is impacted by the diet like tenfold, you know. Animal Mother says, how much honey does anyone consume on a daily basis? I consume I try to get at least like a big fat tablespoon of honey in, because I mix it in with my raw milk sometimes at night. That's like becoming like my little nightly treat. As I'm like getting like winding down for bed, as I get a little glass of milk and honey ready, man. It's like a really good snack before bed. It's easily digested. The honey helps the milk digest, and I think it actually it helps me sleep. Jason Smith says 1 or 2 tablespoons on average for honey. Yeah, that seems about right. Mike says, will weed mess your lungs up like tobacco? Not like tobacco, but weed will mess your lungs up for sure. For sure, man. Like, it's not going to be as bad as cigarettes. Let's put it that way. But you're still inhaling plant matter. And a lot of the weed, the biggest problem, and this is the reason that I quit smoking weed actually, is the biggest problem with weed is that they spray it all with pesticides. It's all got freaking pesticides on it, man. So Just think about that. Anybody that's still token up, think about, and you're on this diet and you're trying to like clean your body out. Think about every time you're taking a hit of that, you're inhaling chemicals and pesticides. And even though they're marketing them as organic pesticides, now California may be different, but I know Colorado, I'm close to Colorado, and that's where like a lot of the weed was coming in. And all the Colorado weed is heavily, heavily sprayed, my friends. So that whole legalization of weed in Colorado thing is a freaking scam. It's one of those scams I'm telling you about, man. You think it's some big revolution, and it's a long time coming. Everything, it should have happened a long time ago. And you know what? Maybe they should have legalized it for personal growing a long time ago. But this whole commercialization of it is a freaking scam, dude, because they're spraying all that shit with chemicals. And so everybody that's smoking weed in Colorado is inhaling chemicals. It's an unbelievable scam, dude. So, yeah. That's why I quit messing with that shit a while ago. Jason Smith, do they have 5G towers set up around Nebraska? I'm in Columbus, and they're absolutely everywhere. Are you talking about Columbus, Ohio? Not Columbus, Nebraska, right? When I'm close to one, I feel as different in my skin as I'm getting an X-ray. That's interesting. I don't know yet. I haven't looked into the 5G thing yet. I'm not 100% too worried about it just because I know I'm going to be moving to the country pretty soon, but I'll look into that. I know a lot of people are concerned about that. Animal mother can't seem to gain weight easily on just meat and fat. Probably will start eating more potatoes and fruit. Try adding eggs. Aajonus said adding eggs to your normal routine will help you gain weight. Jason Smith says weed stimulates the adrenal gland and stresses it out. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I think that's why I was eating that adrenal gland from Miller's Farm. Because of all the weed and the coffee and all the sugar. Think about how crazy sugar probably messes up your adrenal glands. Daniel says, I think in that period after quitting weed, you start dreaming extremely intense to compensate all that non-dreaming. Had some crazy dreams too after quitting. It's been freaking unreal, man. Yeah. Someone said, I think it was Eat Raw Meat on my channel. He said that someone said there's a theory that people that don't dream are mentally ill because you're basically missing out on like a third of your life. It's very, very interesting, man, because I would say the period of my life where I was not dreaming, those 10 years, was probably, I was at my most mental weakest point. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm dreaming again, I feel the most mentally strong I've ever felt in my life. So I don't know, you know what I mean, if it was the weed. I don't know if it was the dreaming that was getting, or like the consequences of the weed. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily like the weed that is affecting you, you know what I mean? Because all that does is really just kind of slow you down, and at least the direct effects, but it's like the indirect effects of weed, like the messing up of your sleep cycle and stuff like that, that really catches up with you, I think, man. It drives people actually literally insane. Chicken Jar says, anything you inhale that's burned will turn into tar inside your lungs. That's right. Adam Z says, what if you grow without pesticides? That's definitely the way to do it. If you insist on smoking weed for whatever reasons that you need to. It is definitely a medicine, and it needs to be respected. The problem is everybody abuses it. Everybody abuses it, man. Everybody. And it's also got so many damn chemicals on it. So between those two things, most people, it shouldn't even be accessible to most people because it's being abused like crazy. It's a medicine brought here by God, just like all these other plant medicines. And it's being just totally abused by Western culture. And it's really disrespectful to it, But it obviously has applications, man. Like, it reduces seizures in people and just, it shrinks tumors and stuff like that. So, but yeah, if you're growing your own weed without pesticides and you're using it, you're using very, very minimal amounts, not smoking it or vaporizing it, but like eating little pieces of it, you're supposed to eat it, man. You're not supposed to smoke weed, guys. You're not supposed to vaporize weed. You're supposed to eat it. So if you're doing your own homegrown stuff without chemicals and you're eating little pieces of it for some kind of specific medicinal purpose, or some people do it for spiritual purposes, I don't really judge anybody anymore that uses any sort of plant or fungus for spiritual purposes, because I truly believe that Western culture doesn't know shit about funguses and plants because we're just basically abusing the crap out of it. So I admit that I don't know anything about drugs, basically. So I neither recommend them nor condone them, or I neither recommend them nor not recommend them. I just say if it's a part of your culture, part of your spiritual practices, and you respect it, God obviously put a lot of this stuff here for a reason, clearly. Animal Mother says, if you're craving rice, eat it, man. A little cooked starch ain't bad. Yeah, Aajonus even said for the first couple years on the diet, some people really need cooked starches. So don't be afraid. Stop being afraid of stuff, man. You're not going to offend anybody if you're eating raw meat and milk and you decide to have a little bit of rice or cook a potato. You're not going to offend anybody. You're not going to let anybody down. You know, it's okay to experiment a little bit. Just be careful with eating carbs because you don't need many at all. And a lot of that stuff is cultivated, shortcutted and stuff. And so you're going to get a lot of like inferior quality potatoes and rice and things like that. So just make sure you're sourcing good stuff. But I truly don't believe that after 2 years on this diet that you really don't need that stuff. But you do what you want to do. Caleb says, if you're going to eat rice, mix a couple raw eggs into a bowl of steaming rice. Lit. That does sound pretty good, actually. P. Miller says, in high school, I used to smoke these weed oil cartridges. They became so popular, and I watched countless friends become addicted. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, those little cartridges and stuff. Those little weed pens. Yeah, I've been through it all, man. I was smoking hash all day long. I was eating edibles all day. I had a volcano, and I was taking bags to my face all day long, man. And it was getting so out of control. It's stupid. Jason says Columbus, Ohio. Right on, right on. Yeah, I'm not sure about the 5G thing, man. Haven't looked into it yet. I'm not scared of it or anything. I mean, I understand that it seems like a man-made technology, and anything man-made and technology-wise is, I hate to say it, man, but it's a scam. The internet, you know, besides this part of the internet where we get to like talk to each other and socialize and just have like a one-on-one or 1-on-30, however many people are here, reaction or interaction, I should say. This is as organic of a thing you can get out of the internet, man. This is really like live streaming is about as organic as you get, especially live streaming at dinner. I can't think of anything really more organic or as close to organic as this, technology-wise on the internet, because everything else is just a scam, you know? It's like based on money, it's based on sex, it's based on lies, deception, you know what I mean? Whereas, you know, this is totally different, man. I'm trying to show people how to break through the lies, break through the deceptions, not be scared of stuff, not be scared of raw meat. It's the best thing you could ever eat. You know, stuff like that. And for some reason, I haven't been completely banned yet. I thought for sure my channel would get tanked. But apparently, I think either YouTube just doesn't care, or most likely they're doing some extreme shadow banning, you know what I mean? Because it's just that I think there's more sneaky ways that they restrict channels like mine, you know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of evidence of it too, like they unsubscribe people from my channel and stuff. But yeah, I just feel lucky. I feel lucky that we get to do this, you know what I mean? Because this is really like, it's not a normal thing to do on the internet. KV says, same, smoked for 10 years straight and barely ever dreamed. Once I quit, started having crazy dreams. Yeah, isn't that weird? It's kind of scary, man. It's really kind of scary to think about it. About what you were actually suppressing there. And especially if you, like, we don't really know even what dreams are. They're so incredibly complicated, complex, and beautiful, and astonishing at times, that to just completely remove that from your life is like very, very traumatic almost. KV says mental health definitely improved too, for sure. Patchy says sourdough and cheese was eaten by tribes and they were in immaculate health. Yeah, I do. Dang, you gotta mention sourdough. Sometimes my mouth waters when I think about sourdough bread, man. I might have to make some. I'm still kind of freaked out by gluten though. Because every time I touch anything with gluten in it, man, I'll get like a little rash on my arm and I'll just feel like shit. That's the one thing I'm a little freaked out by yet. I'm not sure what to make of it. Animal Mother says, do you think a lack of weight gain is due to metabolism or lack of assimilating the food? Could be both, man. What's your height? What's your age and your height, Animal Mother? Caleb says, LOL, the Stoner Wes. Oh yeah. They called me Wesley Pipes. That was my name. P. Miller says, I'm so glad I escaped the stoner cult a year ago. Yeah, a lot of people have escaped it, man. It's really interesting. I think after this whole legalization thing, which was like really cool, you know, when everybody was smoking weed, it's like, oh yeah, it's being legalized. And then everybody just like went totally overboard on it. And started waking up to it, you know what I mean? Like when something starts becoming, this is like a rule of thumb for the universe. When something starts becoming mainstream, you can guarantee that it's a lie, you know? Because the real truth is removed from them, it's hidden from the mainstream, and you have to like really dig in and find the truth. They're not going to bring the truth to a storefront on a main road and sell it to you, man. That's not where the truth comes in this world. Adam Z says YouTube is man-made. It is. It's very man-made. Internet socialization is man-made. Definitely is. It definitely is, man. This is like an imitation. I think about that sometimes. This is like imitating socializing. Because I'm like pretending I'm talking to people, you know what I mean? But I'm really just talking basically to my wall. You ever think about how crazy that is? There's nobody in the room with me right now, and I'm just talking. I'm talking like there's 36 people in the room with me, but there's nobody here. It's a little bit kooky. What's up, Brandon Johnson? Animal Mother says, I fasted myself to skin and bones. My hormones got screwed up. Lost my hair. The more weight I gain, the better my hormones get. There's still an ideal. How tall are you, though, Animal Mother? Because Aajonus always asked how tall people were. That's a more indicator of what you should be eating and how much you should be eating. Chicken Jar. When we dream, the brain releases endogenous DMT. So basically, we trip every night for free, boys. Oh, yeah. I believe it. Daniel says, if anyone's interested in science of sleep and dreaming, Matthew Walker, JRE podcast, one of Jerry's worth watching. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, Joe Rogan has a few little gold nuggets in there in the middle of all of his propaganda casts. He's got some good stuff in there every once in a while. Patchy says, animals start drinking a lot of raw milk is how I gain my weight. Yeah, raw milk is a good way to gain weight, man. I actually started drinking more raw milk. I actually started like skipping my meals and just drinking raw milk the other day. I like fasted basically and just drank a bunch of milk all day, and I ended up putting on like 3 pounds. So raw milk is worth looking into for that. Daniel says he mentions how weed stops dreams and explains it actually. Nice. Matthew Walker. I'll remember that. I might watch that tonight. I should probably write that down. I should probably see. I got a notepad here. I don't even freaking use it, man. I'll start using this thing. Cause you guys, I tell people all the time. I learn almost everything I know. At least 50% of what I know about nutrition and all this stuff, I learned from you guys. Like, you can learn so much from the world, man. If you just open your ears and just let people rant on you for a little bit, man. And just have a little bit of patience. You can learn so much, man. It's really just about humbling yourself and listening to people. I've learned just some valuable lessons on that. Like, the internet has taught me that. KV says Wesley Pipes. Was that your pothead name or porn star name? No. No, my porn star name was W Balls. That's what my little brother used to call me. W Balls. That's a good one, though. Daniel Miatovich says, all right, gotta sleep. Have a great day, everyone. All right, man. Jason Smith, I think every sensible person eventually matures and outgrows the weed hysteria. I think you're right. For me, though, it was getting to the point to where I was like, when is it ever going to happen? You know what I mean? I never saw myself actually waking up out of it. I really felt like I was in a trance with that shit. Patchy says, lots of people I know can't even sleep without smoking or function. Yeah, when I first quit, my sleep was fucked up for like a month, dude. Lunar Angel says, LOL at talking to a wall. Yeah, it's funny when you really think about it. Right now, I'm just like talking to my wall. It makes me look pretty crazy. What's up, Manny on YouTube? Yo, yo. Hyper Carnivore, what's the best way to lose body fat diet-wise? I'm trying to eat one meal a day and restricting carbs, but I get lots of cravings for sweets. What do you mean by restricting carbs? You're going to want to cut carbs completely, man. Get rid of all those cravings. And then that's going to be the best way to lose weight, is cutting out your carbs basically completely. Just get a little bit of carbs from milk and maybe some honey, and like that's it. If you're craving sweets, you know, honey's not a bad call. But eating like meats and eggs is like, you know, it's pretty hard to put on weight that way. You got to add in a lot of milk and stuff like that. Manny says, I'm eating pasta for dinner. Will the gluten be bad? Most likely, man. Most likely. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with pasta. Animal Mother says, 22 years old, 5'10"-ish and 155. Interesting. Yeah, 5'10"-ish, that's about average height. I'm 6'3". So you're 5'10", I'm 6'3", and I eat like 1.5 quarts of milk a day, a pound of meat a day. I eat a tennis ball size of raw cheese a day. I eat 7 eggs a day, and a big old chunk of butter, and a little bit of honey. So just to give you an idea of what I eat, and I'm 5 inches taller than you, so shave off a little bit of that, and that's probably what you should be eating per day. Chicken jar. All my puppies do is drink their mama's raw milk. They doubled in size in 8 days. That's crazy, man. Puppies grow frickin' fast, dude. You know, part of the reason they grow so fast is because they sleep so damn much, and they're producing all that human growth, or not human, but they're producing all that growth hormone. What's up, Negro? Nice name. That's pretty funny. Jason Smith, it's not that hard to quit weed. I quit heroin, and that's hard. Yeah, I bet. I bet, man. Heroin's a doozy. That's a doozy, man. Yeah, quitting carbs is harder than quitting weed. And so is cigarettes. Quitting cigarettes is hard, but yeah, heroin's a hard one. Negro says weed's gay. That's funny, dude. It is kind of gay, isn't it? It does kind of make you less masculine too. Jason Smith says, I'm just staring into my wall, not moving an inch. Patchy says, I quit RuneScape. RuneScape, you know how hard that is? I've heard, yeah, video games are pretty hard too. Because video games trigger like a certain, I don't know, I can't remember the exact wavelengths in the brain, but it triggers like delta waves, I believe, which is like the same waves that are triggered when you like read books and stuff like that. So it's like very relaxing and calm when you play video games. So that's why it's hard for a lot of people to quit, is because you're triggering these actual brain waves. Ben Seaman, nice beard progress. Thank you, sir. I'm letting it ride. I'm letting it roll. It's getting a little bit into gnarly mode. I'm getting into gnarly mode here where I got to start like combing it. We'll see how it works out. I'm hoping that it grows kind of like more like longer and not like before when I grew my beard. It was like insane, dude. Like way out here. Like a fro on my face. But yeah, I think the raw primal is making my beard grow in a little bit better, to be honest with you. And my hair. My buddy said he noticed my hair looked a little thicker too. So yeah, I think this diet is definitely making my hair extra gnarly. Chris Parks, why do people in the same house get the flu at the same time, if not spread by virus? Well, it's because, basically it's because they eat the same food, they breathe the same air, they're all exposed to the same toxins, and we're more alike than you can ever imagine as human beings. And so a lot of times we're on very similar detoxification schedules. So when you're basically, like I said, introduced to the same toxins as somebody, your body's going to trigger a detoxification right about the same time that other person is. So that's why it seems like it's all an illusion, man. It's a strong illusion. It's a good one, but it's all deception. That viruses jump between people, that's a total deception. It's just that people are having the same viral manifestations at the same time. That's how common it is for your body to produce viruses. If you realize how common and normal it is for your body to produce a virus, then it just makes sense. Manny, do you get all your products from Miller's? No, I don't. I get a lot of my stuff from my local farmer here. I have a few different grass-fed beef farmers that I work with within like a couple 2-hour area. So whenever they process beef, I'll buy like a beef quarter from them. And then sometimes I'll get chuck roast from the grocery store when I run out of grass-fed beef. And right now from Miller's Farm, all I'm getting is raw unsalted cheese because I can't find that anywhere. And sometimes I get butter, but really, all I really need from Miller's is raw unsalted cheese, adrenal glands, brains, and all that kind of weird stuff. Adam Z, can weed turn you gay and will primal reverse it? That's one of the funniest comments I've read in a long time. That's a good question. I don't think so, man. No, I don't think weed can turn you gay. Turning homosexual, I think, is much more complicated than that, for sure. But if you mean like gay as in like not the technical term gay, homosexual, if you mean like, if you're talking about like, can weed make you more like feminine? For sure. It like gives you like a plant mind, you know what I mean? And it does make you sort of think like a female, you know? And it, like more emotional and stuff like that. And will primal reverse that? For sure. Like primal definitely made me a less emotional person, if not zero emotion now, and totally logically, rationally thinking like a man should be. So yeah, primal definitely made me more of a man, and the actual definition of what a man is, which is just a straightforward, logical thinking, rational person, you know? Powerful Being says, my drug is soda. I don't know why it's hard to quit. Damn, you gotta get off that, man. Soda's the bad stuff. Yeah, weed destroys testosterone, for sure. That was another thing that pushed me to quit smoking weed. I watched a video by this doctor guy on YouTube. I can't remember his name. But he did a whole thing on weed and testosterone, and I was like, oh, man. Like, I gotta quit this shit now, you know what I mean? I gotta quit this shit before I'm like 50, and I have like zero testosterone left to even if I did quit, I wouldn't even have any left to boost it back up. Hypercarnivore. Most of these drugs come from plants' defense systems against insects trying to eat them. These chemicals attack the central nervous system. This is why most drugs are so harmful, even caffeine. I've heard that. I think I've actually heard that about caffeine. I think Andrew Graff taught me that about caffeine. Yeah, it's basically your body reacting to a toxin hitting your central nervous system. That's really mind-blowing stuff. Makes you not want to touch drugs anymore, huh? Patchy says vaccines, drinking water, and chemicals in food causes people to be gay usually. That's funny. That definitely messes with your endocrine systems and your hormones and stuff like that. But well, I think what turns people actually like homosexual, it's more of like a spiritual thing, you know? Like I always say, you gotta always factor in the spiritual components of life. Life isn't just all about science and chemicals and toxins and stuff like that. There's way, way, way more going on than that, man. And when it comes to your experiences with your parents, your experiences with your mother, your experiences with your father, your experiences with potentially have been like abused as a child and stuff like that, all that stuff factors into turning people into becoming homosexuals. But it doesn't help that we have a lot of stuff jacking with our hormones. I almost said hormones. Jacking with your hormones as well. Hypercarnivore sugar is more addictive than cocaine. That's crazy, isn't it? I know, if you ever see those brain scans, maybe I could bring that up while we're here. Yeah, here you go. Sugar, cocaine. It's like the same thing. Isn't that nuts? Double K. I have dirty blonde hair, but my beard is mainly red, little blonde or brown when I grow it out. Mine gets red too. In the summertime, you'll see it'll get like, I'm Captain Redbeard over here. It's darker in the winter, but it lightens up into a red. Chris Park says rice is the same as sugar. It does kind of break down that way, huh? Jason Smith says, so do you think there's absolutely zero existence of any communicable disease? Let me see if I can get my chat box back. Well, let's break that down. Viruses, I do believe the theory, and it's just theory because I can't prove it, man. I've never done an autopsy. I've never taken a virus in a tweezer and looked at it. You know what I mean? This is all theory, but from what I've seen, the evidence I've seen, and the theory itself, it makes more sense than viruses are transmutable. And also, I believe in God, and I believe that He created a perfect world for us to live in. And so it doesn't make sense that He would create a bunch of nasty viruses all over the place flying around, right? Doesn't make any sense. So viruses, I don't believe are communicable. Bacteria, I mean, that's arguable because you could probably cultivate bacteria in certain ways if you brought it from one person to another, but I think your body would just fight it off. You know what I mean? I don't really think bacteria is what causes disease either. Parasites, I don't think a parasite could be transferred either between animal to animal because parasites are in your body for a reason. They're there digesting something that your body couldn't digest. And so if you were to take that parasite and put it in someone else and just have them swallow it or whatever, it wouldn't be able to survive because your body is not the same as theirs and you don't have a bunch of dead tissue for them to digest, right? So the parasite would just die off. So yeah, it just doesn't make any sense, man. Diseases don't come from bacteria, parasites, and viruses, and they're not communicable. Disease comes from toxins, man-made toxins. God, see, when they take God out of everything in this world, it starts to confuse the shit out of people, and that's exactly what's happening. God created this world perfect, and it's when man came in and started making all this technology, chemicals, poisons, and shit like that. That's what's creating all the disease, man. But it's the ego of man that prevents it from accepting the fact that we are the creators of disease. And it's the devil that is putting deception into people's mind, making you think that God created disease. And so people start thinking God is nasty and just a horrible person, and yeah. Yeah, you guys do what you got to do. You guys, I'll let my moderators handle any kind of arguments, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out. Gregory DeFranco says, I think homosexuality can happen from childhood trauma. For sure. Absolutely, man. It's just like programming a robot the wrong way. You know what I mean? You can get your sexuality programmed the wrong way. Hypercarnivore. Dairy products are what I usually get from millers. I get my meat from local farms and very rarely from supermarkets. If I do, I opt for organic and grass-fed. Good stuff. Yeah, I mostly get dairy from them too. Just cheese and butter and stuff. The Amish, man, they got it figured out, man. Yeah, Chris Parks. Yeah, I'm confused with what Aajonus says about STDs not communicable. I've had the clap a few times. Sure Girls gave it to me. Sure, man. I mean, that's an interesting question. I haven't really gone into STDs yet, you know. I think I might have possibly had it too, but here's the crazy part, man. I thought I had the clap or whatever, or I don't know if it was the clap or chlamydia or whatever. I thought I had something one time, let's put it that way. Went into the doctor, went to like some emergency clinic, and they tested me, and they took like a sample of it, put it in a petri dish or whatever, gave me their standard pills or whatever the hell it was. And I took them, and within a few days, whatever I had going on went away. It was just like a real mild little thing, right? And so it just kind of seemed like the medicine is what made it go away, right? I found out from the doctor like a few weeks later. I asked him, I was like, what the hell was that? You know what I mean? Did you guys test it? What the hell's going on there? They had no freaking clue. It didn't match up with anything they had ever seen. And it didn't match up with any kind of STD or anything. So I believe just what I had was just some kind of detoxification that just happened to come out of my pee-pee, you know? And so I think a lot of people freak out and they think it comes from sex, but it actually doesn't, man. So I'm with Aajonus about the STDs not being communicable thing. And I guess there's another because you got to think about, okay, so your genitals, they have like a mucus membrane inside of them, right? And that's connected to your bladder, and then your bladder is connected to your intestines and your stomach, and all that stuff's connected, right? And so if you get any kind of toxin in there, sometimes it can travel through and it can be expelled like out your genitals, man. Or you could have something in your bladder and that comes out. I should probably do a whole stream on STDs, man. I bet a lot of people are interested in this stuff. So, but yeah, you could just have like a bladder infection, you know what I mean? And it just happened to get detoxified after you had sex one time, because I'm not even sure the intricacies of it, but I don't believe that STDs are communicable, man. I don't believe it, because it would negate all of the other theories that diseases are transmittable, you know? And it also falls in line with the fact that the world wants you to be scared of everything, including sex. The one beautiful thing that God gave us to help create human beings and stuff. We shouldn't be scared of that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the STD thing is a big red pill, man. That's a big one. But, yeah, I could probably do a whole stream on it. So yeah, you say you're sure girls gave it to you. And I've thought about this too. I need to think about it a little bit more, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times when this happens to people, it does seem like it happens like after sex, you know? And so, but it's not exactly a disease, it's just like a detoxification, you know? So, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one a little more, but I definitely don't believe they're communicable. And like I said, I've had a detoxification happen out of my genital, and I went to a doctor and got it tested, and it didn't match up with anything. So it was just like having a cold, you know what I'm saying? And it just happened to come out the wee-wee. Gregory DeFranco says most kids that have been abused sexually end up gay. I've heard that. Mike, yeah, I'm confused about what Aajonus says about STDs. Yeah, that's something that I should dig into, that, man. But it's so hard to study that, because a lot of people are afraid to talk about it, you know, because there's like a stigma about it. Ty Lopez, most gay men had childhood trauma. Yeah, and the other thing is gay men have the spirit of a woman. Obviously, clearly. That's why they like to dress nice. That's why they like shoes, stuff like that. So a spirit of a woman has inhabited their body. And this can happen in life. You can have a spirit inhabit your body. And so, and I believe that comes from a lot of them. Some of them like have like issues with their father. And a lot of like lesbians have issues with their mothers. Like they hate their mothers. And what's really weird and twisted about life spiritually is that if you become angry or you start hating something or somebody, you end up kind of becoming what you hate, and you end up being attracted to what you hate. So men that like hate their mothers, they end up like marrying women just like their mothers. And women that hate their mothers, in some cases, will actually become lesbians and end up marrying women. It's really weird and twisted, but it's obviously, you can see how the devil works like that, you know what I mean? The devil just like kind of flips things around and makes you attracted to what you hate in order to just further exacerbate your problems and stuff. Pashy says, I don't think STDs are a natural thing. Probably only exist in a toxic world. Yeah, it's definitely some kind of toxin, man. Because you got to think about, if you're having sex with like random women, like without a condom and stuff like that, like you're living a toxic lifestyle most likely. You're most likely doing some drugs, drinking some beers, eating some junk food and stuff like that. And so who's to say that, you know, that's not just toxins coming out of just an area of your body, you know? Adam Z, God didn't create nasty stuff in nature like viruses, but he created the precursors for chemicals. Right, he did. Yeah. But also he created the precursors for us to, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he definitely created the precursors for a lot of things, you know what I mean? He created the precursors for murder, you know? There's ways to make weapons and kill people. I mean, you can look at it that way if you want, but a lot of the things that, like, the chemicals could be used for bad, or they could be used for good. You know what I mean? I think that's the whole, because you could have like good medicines and stuff like that that need to like save people's lives in dire situations. And so that's kind of the whole challenge. And I think the whole game of life that we're in here is that you basically you got to beat bad in order to find the good. I don't believe we are animals. Almost like animals mixed with like angels or something. We're like, I believe. Double K says we have dominion over all animals. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you could say we're animals, man, just because we have a lot of things in alike to them, you know? Like, let's say monkeys or gorillas and stuff like that, just because we kind of resemble them. But if you really break it down, we're like so much more than that, you know? We have like insight and reasoning, and we have like the ability to like think about God and like all this stuff that they really don't. Gregory says if humans aren't animals, what are they? I think we're animals plus. So, I mean, I don't know. Animals mixed with angels, maybe. Animals mixed with God. I'm not fully convinced that animals have God written in their hearts like we do. I believe we have God written in our hearts. So, it's a good question though. A lot of people have differing opinions on that, and also a lot of people have differing opinions on whether we have free will or we don't have free will. I don't believe we have free will. KV says it's the exact sense of superiority that allows man to destroy nature the way we do. We are 100% animals and no better than any other animal. We just happen to be apex predators. No, I don't think so, man. Because you got to be careful about stuff like that, because you're starting to get into Satanism, Luciferianism. I'm not sure which one, but whichever one equivalates animals with humans. And you're also getting into vegan territory, because they also equivalate animals with humans. It's a deception, man. It's a deception. Don't fall into it. It is a deception that we are animals, or that we are just animals, I should say. And it's also a deception that we evolved from monkeys and apes and orangutans. You know what I mean? And it's pretty easy to fall into that deception. Don't get me wrong. When you look at it at face value, it looks like that. You know what I mean? But just my intuitions tell me that we are not animals, that we're something a little more than that. And my intuition also tells me that we didn't come from monkeys, you know? If you're saying that we're animals, then you're saying basically that we came from monkeys too, basically. Jason Smith says, what do you think of circumcision? Will you get your son circumcised? No way. No way, dude. I think it's a ripoff. Literally. No pun intended. What a freaking ripoff, man. What a way to enter the world. Chop your ding dong. Double K, humans have consciousness and the ability to choose right or wrong, also have poetry, music, different languages, etc. etc. How many animals can do any of that? 0. Yeah, that's just one of the many differences for sure. Gregory says, so you're saying animals don't have consciousness, which is so obviously wrong, but okay. I'm not saying they're not conscious, but I'm just saying that this is a very, very philosophical, deep combo for sure. But I'm not saying they don't have consciousness. Let's not put it that way. I just think we're something more than that. I definitely don't have all the answers, you know? But my intuition right now tells me that we're more than animals. There's almost like a piece of God in us that may not be found inside the animal. I'm not the best at articulating like really, really complicated ideas on the fly. I'm better at like writing and like preparing videos ahead of time, you know what I mean? Because it takes me a while to formulate like good answers and stuff like that. Good rhetoric, I should say. But it's a tough question to answer too at the same time. Dale Lloyd, maybe toxins can be passed person to person instead of catching STD. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. Yeah, see that I was thinking about the STD thing at one point. I think that's the same thing that I came up with. Is that when you're having sex with somebody, there's some kind of toxin. That's such a good point, dude. I like that argument. There's some kind of toxin that's in their mucous membrane, in their urinary tract or whatever, that gets into your urinary tract. That's exactly what it is, man. You freaking nailed it, Dale. I think that's what it is. That makes the most logical sense. MHM says, what's up? How's it going? Young Master says, my pee smells a bit like pineapple, even though I haven't eaten pineapple in years. Very strange. That is strange. Gregory DeFranco says, if we don't have free will, why are people able to do horrible things such as kill themselves? Because it's the devil, man. It's the devil inhabiting your body. So we're spirits, fundamentally. There's no doubt in my mind that we are spirits. And I believe that we are eternal spirits as well. There's no such thing as actual death for your spirit. But basically what happens is demons or the devil actually inhabit your spirit and make you do things to yourself, like kill your flesh body. Patchy says, I wonder if there was ever a team of human and lions hunting. That'd be interesting. Patchy says, suicide is spirit wanting to leave the body is what I think. I think suicide is the devil convincing you to kill yourself. It's like pretty obvious to me. It's a deception. He's deceiving you into thinking you should kill yourself. It's a trick, man. It's a freaking nasty little trick. Because imagine if you did that and then the demon left your body and started laughing at you like, haha, I got you to kill yourself. And then you go on to your next stage and you're like, damn it, I got freaking tricked. Pretty sure that's what happens. Manny says animals can't live stream. That's pretty funny. Ali says, how old do you think the Earth is? Man, I honestly have no clue. I'm not even sure how to answer that because we don't really have concepts. I don't think time is linear, for one thing. We're under that's another deception, is that time is linear. I think time might be like cyclical or something, or in like an infinite loop or something like that. It's definitely not linear. It's not beginning, and that's definitely not how it is. It's some kind of like circular thing. So I think that's really hard to answer, man. But if you were to look at it on a linear level, like how many years, if I had to guess, if I were to subscribe to the linear timeline, I would say probably at least like 500 years. No, I'm just kidding. Probably, I don't know, man. At least 100,000. Adam says, I don't agree. We could still be animals and didn't come from monkeys. We definitely have a lot in common with animals, dude. I'll meet you halfway on that one. But I think there's something different spiritual about us that animals don't carry. I think it's a different type of spirit. Because you're looking at it, I think, on like a total physical level. You know what I mean? I start to look at things lately, I just on really almost more on a spiritual level than anything. So it's really easy to think we're animals when you're just looking at the physical components, but you got to really analyze the spirit to see the difference. Like, for instance, here's an example. Like, animals can be homosexual. Animals can commit murder. Humans can be homosexual. Humans can commit murder. But humans can actually repent for their homosexuality and become straight again. This has actually happened many, many, many times. Humans can actually become transsexuals and then later on realize that what they did was wrong and they want to go back to their original bodies. Humans can kill people, murder people, and then actually repent for it later and realize that what they did was a sin. I don't think animals do that, dude. I haven't seen any evidence of animals doing that, of committing homosexual acts, murdering other animals, or anything like that, and then repenting for it. So I think that's a major difference right there between the spiritual components of humans and animals. Tin Man says, what do you think of the Bible saying not to eat meat with its lifeblood still in it? I think that means don't eat live animals. Like, don't eat an animal while it's alive. Liam Gorell, why do you believe in God when it could be anything that made all of this? Well, that anything I believe is God, basically. I don't think it all is just like random or whatever. I believe God is what created all of this, basically. Tin Man, thoughts on the actual human population? I haven't thought about that too much. It could be a lot lower than what they say because they're trying to freak people out. I will agree to that much of it. But that's one of those things that you just really don't know, because how could you know? You know what I mean? How could you count that? Tolkien says there's a devil who wants to corrupt the good guy's creation, elves and man, especially man. Totally, man. Absolutely. Yeah, Tolkien had some logos in his stories, for sure. P. Miller, why do humans look so uniquely normal and non-animal like? Just perspective. Other animals probably don't see us as unique. That's a good question. It could be just because we're used to looking at each other, you know? It could be the same way that like animals look at each other. They don't see each other as animals. Just like we don't, you know? Jason Smith, I believe the Earth itself is a living organism, not just a rock harboring life. Look at the planets and how they all look dead. Maybe they were all alive at one point and we're the last one left. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I think I'm with you on that one, man. I think the Earth might be living too. It just makes sense that it kind of is because if you zoom out and look at just the whole thing, it looks alive for one thing, and there's all this living stuff on it. And if you look at like every other living thing on Earth, it's like usually there's other stuff living on top of it. Like right now we have like bacteria and mites and stuff like living all over us. So everything's like fractal, you know? So there's us. We have like mites living on us, but we're living on Earth. It's all crazy, man. But yeah, that's a very interesting idea. Yeah, the planets do look dead, huh? Manny says, are TS people sinners? Yeah. There's there's nothing else that would ever drive you to like chopping your own dick off. Only sin, only like anger, judgment, things like that. Those are like actual sins. A lot of people are confused on what sin is too, you know what I mean? Like smoking weed and doing drugs and drinking alcohol, it's not a sin, guys. The actual sins are things like holding anger towards somebody, judging somebody, hating somebody in your heart. Those are like the real sins, and then everything else that spawns off of that is like a symptom of a sin. So a lot of things that people think are sins are actually symptoms of sins, and that's why people never really get to the core of their problems. But yeah, if you just avoid anger, hating people, and judging people, those are like three main ones that get a lot of people, man. But that's what causes people to do things like chop their ding dongs off, you know? YouTube says Korea. Patchy says, I also believe all humans are connected to a star. You mean like the sun? Kind of makes sense. That makes sense we'd be connected to the sun. Ben G says, if you don't believe in free will, how do you justify what's right and what's wrong? That's a good question. So, I believe God gave us enough will to humble ourselves, to realize that He's the creator and He's in charge and that we should follow His will. So I think that, and certain people I think are really only chosen to wake up to God like that. So I think if you're lucky enough to get woken up by God and get the opportunity to become humble and drop your ego and then open yourself up to what God's will is for you and for everybody, then what's right and wrong will be obviously revealed to you. Like it will be super crystal clear to you. But until then, I think a lot of people are unknowingly like serving Satan. And so what they're doing is they're just kind of doing Satan's work, and they don't necessarily know what's right and wrong because Satan is there to confuse you and deceive you on what's right and what's wrong. But until those people that are like suffering, unknowingly serving Satan, until they get woken up by God, then they don't necessarily have a clue what their path is and what is right and what's wrong distinctly, you know. But a lot of that stuff is all written in your heart, you know. And I think you're born with that. You're born with the right and wrong written in your heart. Obviously, you know it's wrong not to go like, hurt small animals and like murder people and rape people and stuff. Everybody's born with that information. So we're born with the truth written in your heart. And I think once you go back on that, once you begin to go back on your intuitions like that, and you start listening to other people on what's right and wrong, other human beings and not God, then you start to become underneath the control of Satan, and then you start unknowingly serving Satan. Then you get into that pattern of becoming confused on what's right and wrong. You're not following your instincts anymore. And then for a lot of people, they just continue down that path and suffer their whole life and just live a terrible life. But some people are actually woken up out of that, and then those are the ones that come back and they're able to live in God's will, man, which is basically like perfect peace. Gregory says, what do you think about morals being man-made? How do we know what feelings are natural and not? Would you feel guilty for killing someone in nature? I don't believe that. I don't believe they're man-made. I believe they're made by God, and I believe that we are born with them in our heart, like I was just talking about. And so, yeah, like I said, we're born with that in your heart. I do believe we're born perfect. I don't believe that we're born in original sin, like Christians say a lot of times. That's a way of saying you're just born imperfect. No, we're born perfect. A lot of times you're ruined by your parents. Those are the ones that screw your morals up. And so, but basically, yeah, you're born with God's morals, and then your parents screw up your morals, and then you start serving Satan, blah, blah, blah. And so at that point, you might not feel guilty for killing someone in nature. But I think until your morals are compromised by most likely your parents, you would feel guilty for killing someone for sure. Like, that's why you don't see children going around killing other like, I'm talking like toddlers. You don't see toddlers going around like strangling toddlers to death, you know what I mean? Because they have God's nature, you know, they haven't been corrupted yet. What's up, Bradley David Good? Adam Z says, what makes you believe it's the God from the Bible? It only makes sense to me that there's one God. So I think what every religion, basically all of I would say the good religions, and that's kind of like really, really subjective, but I think most of the common religions today, the ones that aren't clearly serving Satan, are all worshiping the same God. So they've all been inspired by the same God, and I think Islam and Christianity is serving the same God. I think that's all a deception by the devil that we should be clashing together. I think we're all serving the same God. So, and I think there's a big deception out there put out by the devil that there's multiple gods. That just doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like illogical, you know? There's not multiple suns. There's not multiple earths. You know what I mean? There's only one sun. There's only one earth. There's only one you. There's only one God. P. Miller, yeah, some things I feel are inherently impure, like incest. Yeah, dude, there's tons of stuff like that. Incest, raping children, strangling kittens, like all that stuff just puts a pit in your stomach just thinking about it, you know? Because God made that apparent to us. He wrote that stuff in our heart, you know? Jason Smith says, if people didn't worship Satan and his minions, then this power would be exponentially less on the rest of us. Yeah, man. I think he feeds on our spirits. He's scamming our spirits, man. That's what he's doing. Once you get your spirit back from the devil, man, which I think I have, I think I've defeated the devil. I really do, man. I've just had a bunch of experiences where it's just obvious to me that I've defeated him, and I've gotten my spirit back. And you get your spirit back connected to God, and you become fearless again, you know? God made us fearless. There's nothing to be scared of. We're not supposed to be scared. We're not supposed to be traumatized. Most of us are traumatized, man. I went through most of my life traumatized and scared of everything. That's when you know the devil's in you, man. But yeah, I think Satan does draw his power from people worshiping him and stuff like that, because he's basically drawing his power from your spirit. Tin Man says, I feel like we're all a collection, potted plants, all isolated from each other on our own computers, when we should be like a forest and earnestly connected. It's a good analogy. I agree. I definitely agree with that. We should be connected way more. Why do you think we're all here talking together, you know? There's obviously something, some force that just draws people together, man. Mandy on YouTube says, look up on YouTube Why We Are So Depressed by Alan Watts. It's really eye-opening. Put it on a stream. It's a short vid. Alan Watts is some pretty intriguing stuff, for sure. I listened to all of his essential lectures. I've listened to a lot of guys like that, man. Alan Watts, and just, I've got a lot of different, my insight is drawn from just a lot of different guys like that I've listened to. But ultimately I found that the only truth, or the best way you can get truth, is just like straight from God, basically. When you start getting it filtered through other human beings, you know, like, you should always be skeptical of people, and you should always like try to learn things for yourself and on your own, you know. Like, I can give you the tools to learn things, but you should ultimately just know them for yourself, you know. That's the best way to understand anything, is know it for yourself, for sure. Jake Crowding says, do you like buttermilk? Buttermilk. What the hell's buttermilk? I don't know why I don't know. What the hell is buttermilk? P. Miller says, I just think life is a test, whether you can learn from mistakes and continue to grow. Yeah, I think it's a test to see whether you can beat the devil. I really do, man. Gregory says, if we need something in order to survive, we shouldn't feel guilty. Killing animals and feeling guilty is a man-made moral. Yeah, we shouldn't feel guilty if we need it to eat. Like, if we need it to eat, you know. But if we're just killing animals for no reason, then you're just like stealing God's life out of one of his creations, you know? That's definitely, I think that goes against our God-given morals. Mike, what causes pits on nails? Some kind of probably nutrition deficiency. Benji, Alan Watts was a shill in my opinion. I'm very skeptical of him myself. And Terrence McKenna, definitely. I've listened to both of those guys for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I got way more out of like people like Jesse Peterson than I did Alan Watts and Terrence McKenna. So that's why I'm skeptical of those guys. But it's entertaining. It's actually very entertaining. But not 100% sure where they were going. Most of their talks kind of go like this. They just kind of wind around, and that's what it makes your brain do, is it kind of winds you around. It's almost like hypnotism in a way. But when you listen to someone like Jesse Peterson, who actually gives you like practical advice on how to battle actual problems like in your life and stuff like that, you start to realize like, oh, this is actually what I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for like an alpha male to tell me like how to directly like battle my problems head on, and not just like think about things in really interesting ways. You know what I mean? It's a little weird for sure. A little skeptical. Gregory says also you shouldn't feel guilty for killing someone if it's in self-defense. I agree. You should feel proud of yourself. KV says, do you think any indigenous tribes would hesitate to kill a kitten if they needed to eat? Probably not. Jason Smith, there are definitely man-made morals meant to dumb us down and change our ideas of real morals. Sure. Exactly. Kind of like the veganism stuff. Patchy says, most man-made morals will go away once you start living more naturally and closer to God. Absolutely, man. You just got to start listening to It's All in Your Heart. Benji says Terrence was a shill for sure, no doubt. Yeah. Jason Smith, yeah, killing people is not always bad. It can be definitely good in some scenarios. Like if there's a serial child rapist or a serial killer, he could be killed for sure. Yeah, man. If there's some kind of evil spirit that's inhabited someone's body and they're going around stabbing people in the street, yeah, it's your duty by God to stop that evil spirit, man. Bradley says the slightly sour liquid left after butter has been churned. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't know what to call it. Used in baking or consumed as a drink. Oh, okay. I understand what you mean by that now. So you spin the. Do you mean like the whey? You mean like the when you spin the cream, it separates the whey, right? Are you talking about the whey? Is that what you're talking about? Or something different? Jason says, also when our founding fathers waged war against the British for our liberty and independence, those deaths were 150% for the good and worth the outcome. Yeah, well, I don't know about the deaths, because, I mean, the devil always has, anytime you have humans battling other humans like that, in war especially, usually the devil's involved in that somehow, you know what I mean? Because I believe we're in a spiritual battle. We're not in a battle of flesh and blood. And I think when you fall into violence, you have basically fallen for the devil's tricks in a way. So it just depends on, I guess, what the motives were for the deaths. You know what I mean? If it was like you're defending yourself from an invading attack, for sure. You know what I mean? But if it was like we need to go bomb the government because they're evil, I'm not sure I agree with that. I think there's better ways to go about it. So it's definitely a very philosophical discussion. War is a very complicated one, but whenever you have war, you can guarantee that there's God and the devil involved. You know. Sarah Sapien, hello. Jason says, and if the day came where we needed to have another revolution and fix our tyrannical government, that is what we must do. That's what the Second Amendment is truly for. Yes, I kind of agree and I disagree to a certain point. Like I agree, I believe the Second Amendment is for defense. You know what I mean? So yeah, if they become tyrannical and they start storming your house and making you forcibly vaccinate your babies and like stuff like that, then yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But on the other hand, there's some people that believe the right thing to do is gather up an army and then go bomb the government or something like that. I don't know if that's the way to go about it. You know, there might be some more crafty ways to do these things. But like I said, you can't really, we're not in those situations, so you can't really, it's hard to speculate what the answer would be. Benji says, even JLP is just human. He has a lot of good advice, but I don't think he's right on everything. That we don't have free will, for an example, or that Jesus Christ wasn't God in the flesh. See, I agree with him on that. So we can respectfully disagree on that one. But I don't think we have free will, and I don't believe Jesus Christ was God. It doesn't make any sense to me. Magical Forum says, clean your table. That's disgusting. All right, how about I put you in a timeout? How about that one? Gregory DeFranco says exactly, and that's why they're trying to take the Second Amendment away. Yeah, that's true, man. You got to be aware what's going on there. Bradley says it's basically all the liquid left after churning butter from cream. Gotcha. Is that another word for whey? Basically? I don't know, man. Now that you mention it, maybe I'll try to drink that next time. P. Miller, if our founding fathers saw what was happening in 2020, they'd be baffled that we haven't waged war yet. Yeah, but I mean, there's different types of war to wage, man. If you believe we're in a spiritual battle, then you could say that I'm waging war right now against evil, by helping promote good, helping promote God, helping promote healthy diets, you know what I mean? And speaking out against what evil is, helping clear up deception with people. There's different ways to wage war, guys. And if everybody did that, if everybody did what was right, then you would be winning the spiritual battle. Now, if not everybody did that, and then everybody instead just got their guns up and started shooting everybody else, I believe that is falling into a deception. I hope I make that clear. It's clear to me. I'm not the best at articulating my thoughts, but I believe the best way to win this battle is to just do right and be an example for others, and then hopefully others will recognize that, and then it will grow from there, because it's definitely a spiritual thing. P. Miller says that's how manipulated people are. They're putting LGBT closed sections for kids in Target and nobody bats an eye. So much immorality. Yeah, it's getting to the falling of Rome thing. Apache says, good thing I'm not an American, though. Lucky you. Daniel says, whey is from cheese, butter, milk from butter. Okay. Interesting. Jason Smith says, in the Declaration of Independence, it says if the government stomps on the will of the people, then it is our duty as free men to abolish the government one way or another and institute a new government. True, but there's also a lot of things in there that talk about God, right? That they've completely taken out of like the picture nowadays. So you got to consider the God thing and what God would want us to do. I don't think God would want us to kill each other. I understand your point totally, man, and I'm not arguing that tyrannical government is horrible, but I think there's different ways to battle it. You got to think outside the box. Think outside the guns. Kai Salas, LOL, only a gamma would be triggered by bits of food left on your plate. Time out well deserved. Yeah, definitely. Freaking out about butter on my plate. Hilarious. I showed mercy with that timeout too. I hope that person realizes that. That was mercy. Hyper Carnivore, I believe God led me to your channel. I believe God led me to you guys. I believe God led me to starting this channel and led me to this diet. There's no doubt in my mind. Beach Fitness, what are your thoughts on kombucha? I remember I drank kombucha. It was like bottled store stuff, but I thought it was delicious, man. I liked it. My buddy's making some, and I'm trying to get him to give me some. But I was thinking about making some, experimenting on that. Danny B, if there's a God, why don't we instinctively know it? Well, I didn't for most of my life, and then I just had a series of like profound revelations that showed me that it's like so unbelievably obvious. So unbelievably obvious. Not just like a suspicion. It's ridiculously obvious that God exists to me. And it's almost, the paradox is it's almost impossible for me to articulate it to other people. So that's kind of like the paradox, is that the people that wake up to God instinctively or intuitively, it's hard to articulate because he is like so beyond words. A lot of his, it's beyond words, man. So it's more like a spiritual thing. It's something that you just have to experience for your spirit, I guess. But I think the reason that most people are disconnected from it is only certain people are meant to wake up to God. Certain people are meant to suffer, because suffering actually creates love. That's how you get love, is through suffering, because love is the only like antidote to suffering. So that's why he makes people suffer, is so that they will discover love. But some people just suffer and suffer and then they die. That's their entire life. I'm sure you guys have seen people like that. It's a tragedy, but it's a truth. It's a fact of our universe, man, that some people just suffer and die. And so there's different groups of people that are experiencing different things on this world, man. But some people just, they don't instinctively recognize God because they're under the influence of the devil and they're meant to suffer. And then some, it's pretty complicated, but for the most part, our culture has removed God from everything, and that's why a lot of our intuitions and instincts are being skewed, and we're being easily manipulated by the devil into believing that God doesn't exist, because just everything in this material world, which is an illusion, everything is an illusion, man. Everything you see, this is all an illusion. It's to show you basically that God doesn't exist. So when you're focused on the material world, when you're focused on the physical world, when you're focused on yourself, your ego, you're completely disconnected from God, basically. So until you overcome that, until you overcome your ego, until you overcome your physical self, until you wake up and realize that everything around you is an illusion, everything, a lot of people just don't wake up to it, man. P. Miller says God would condone righteous uprising against unjust government, not those overseas wars fighting over oil. I agree, and I like I said, I think there's ways to do it without violence, though. You know. Bradley says right whey is from milk that is clabbered and then strained into cheese, and whey butter is from cream that is churned. And buttermilk is the liquid left. Ah, got it. Cool, man. Thanks for the clarity. Danny B says, wait, but doesn't all that saturated fat cause heart disease? You're joking, right? I think you're joking, hopefully. P. Miller says, I was eating raw salmon with my hands and my aunt started talking about how I lacked manners. Yikes. Manners. I haven't heard that word in a long time. Manners. FYSI, is that A2 butter looks like cheese? No, this is just organic, Miller's Organic Farm. Miller's Organic Farm A1 butter. I'm glad I woke up to the A1, A2 nonsense. And I stopped wasting my money on A2 stuff. Miguel says, I believe in God because there's no way this is all random. God exists in the spiritual realm, which is superior to material and contains it. That's why you cannot prove God materially. Exactly. It's really hard to prove it materially, man. There's just certain things that happen to you, certain experiences and stuff. That, because like language is material too. Like verbal language is material, so it doesn't summarize God very well. Jason Smith, you are right that the spiritual battle is 100 times better, but that takes so many more people to get on board than battle, which only takes a tiny portion of the population. 3% they say is all it takes. True, but if we're like in a war of ideas, you know, because I think fundamentally we're at like a war of ideas here, you know, you have to battle it with ideas. You can't like shoot ideas with guns. Those ideas are still going to exist. You could go kill portion of the government or whatever that you're thinking is helping promote some of these ideas, but the spirit like still exists, if that makes sense. And it probably doesn't. I don't expect a lot of people to understand half of this stuff, but because I'm just still like a baby in my spiritual awakening, you could say. But if the spirit still exists, you can't kill spirits with violence, if that makes sense. There's these other ways that you do it. Yeah, I like kombucha. Danny B says, you confuse God with nature. God created nature. There's definitely no confusion there. Danny B says, I thought veg oils are heart healthy and lower cholesterol. Yeah, right. Dr. Greger. Dr. Greger is a vegetable, Patchy said. That's funny. P. Miller says Cheerios help lower your cholesterol. That's right. Yeah, they're heart healthy. Part of this balanced breakfast. Patchy says human bean. Jason Smith says the founding fathers in the first documents called him the god of nature. That's exactly what he is, man. No confusion there. Danny B says, just look at Vegan Gains. Look at how big his muscles are and his skin isn't even rotting away that bad. Right, exactly. But he's married to Bill Gates. It's a bit questionable. Danny B says, come on, man. I get what you're coming from, but you're just repeating cliches. You don't actually believe what you're saying. I've been there. These aren't original thoughts. Yeah, they are, dude. I don't like read the Bible. I mean, I can't say I don't read the Bible, but sometimes I skim through it. But I don't follow the Bible. I don't go to church, dude. This is all stuff that I've come to realization on my own. So I'm not regurgitating. This is all off the cuff. Just because everybody has similar awakenings and comes up with the same ideas doesn't mean that they aren't original ideas. It's just that it's actually the truth. That everybody came to realize the truth at the same time. Yeah, right now, Jason Smith, right now we're in like a war of ideas. This is what we're in. This is why people get banned on social media and all that stuff. It's because they're trying to stop ideas, because they realize that that's kind of a way to win the spiritual battles, by pushing around ideas and stuff and controlling ideas, you know. It's a way to control your spirit by controlling your mind. Kushroom says, what A1 and A2? A1 and A2 is a different type of milk, and they claim that A1 is harder to digest than A2, and it might be slightly harder to digest, but it's all basically the same for most people as long as you don't pasteurize it, so it's really nothing to worry about. Just don't pasteurize your milk and you'll be alright. Kai Salas says Vegan Gains is bipolar AF and his gut is destroyed. He almost killed his dog thinking it could be vegan. Yeah, and he spends a lot of time making like hit piece videos on like Frank Tufano. He's pretty immature. Jay says his grass-fed Frisian cow is good. That's what my farm has. Frisian? I've never even heard of that. I'm gonna look that up. Frisian. Frisian. Oh, it's a Holstein Frisian. Yeah, that's good. Looks like it's part of like the Holstein breeds. That's what I drink, is Holstein. That's good stuff. Yeah, I think Danny B's teasing. It's all good. I can tell, man. You're good, man. WT says, don't watch the news. YouTube is for the people. Yeah, there is a lot of good stuff on YouTube compared to the news. Let's put it that way. But it's still like almost as evil, you know, in a lot of ways. Danny B says, YouTube's no different than TV. It keeps you in your jail cell and domesticated. In a lot of ways it does. Like in general it does. But if YouTube has the capability of you digging in and finding like reality in there. But it's really hard. It's really hard to do it, you know? Like, there's like 33 people watching right now. And like, there's probably like 100 million people on YouTube right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like a drop in the bucket. And like I said, man, only certain people are meant to wake up to the truth. Whether it's raw meat, God, whatever. whatever, man. I try to drop and sprinkle as many little truths as I can into my streams because I get bombarded with them all the time. I learn new stuff all the time, man. Jason Smith, YouTube's quality is diminishing heavily and tons of ideologies are getting banned and shadow banned. Yeah, it's going down. They're slowly shaving it down into becoming like basically mainstream news and entertainment. So, WT, video created sick narcissistic civilization. It did, didn't it? Yeah, the camera and the video camera. I'm probably gonna go maybe like 5 minutes here, guys, and I got some stuff I gotta do tonight. But I think we hit a wealth of topics here tonight, man. You guys have got me thinking about some interesting stuff. But you guys got some good questions, man. You were a good crowd tonight. Bravo to you guys. What's up, buddy? You want some scraps? You want some treats? You want some treat, bud? Go ahead. Ow. Don't bite that hard, bud. You guys want to know how I found raw meat? The direct path? It's really, really funny, man. So, I found raw meat through vegans. So, I discovered the carnivore thing because I was a big Joe Rogan fanboy back in the day. And I saw Sean Baker. And so I thought the carnivore thing was just interesting, right? And then my buddy, who I work with now, who's now on Raw, who I got to do Raw, my buddy, I was friends with his brother. He said, my brother's going to try the carnivore diet. And I was just like, you know what, man? I was already doing like a real heavy, like fat diet, like a lot of bacon and steaks and stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to do it, man. I'm just going to go carnivore. So I went carnivore, and then I somehow found like some vegan channels or something. And I was like, kind of like a little bit of a jerk back in the day when I first started this, and I was like going after vegans and stuff. And I remember I commented on someone's vegan channel, and I was like, how could you think eating veggies and vegetables is the only thing that you can eat? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, you know? Because I've been studying nutrition for like over 10 years before I got on carnivore, right? So, and then she goes, oh no, it's one of Sverige's like minions or something like that. She called me one of like Sverige's warriors or minions, and I was like, Sverige? Like, who the fuck is Sverige? So I just Googled it, or I YouTubed it, Sverige, and it brought up Sverige's channel, and I was like, who's this fucking guy? So I started watching his videos, and then I stumbled across like his his bacteria and parasite deception video, and he had a clip of Aajonus spliced in the middle of it. And as soon as I heard Aajonus, dude, it was like listening to just the absolute truth for the first time I've ever heard in my life, man. I was like, this fucking guy gets it, man. The instant I heard him talk, dude, I knew it was the truth. And so literally the next day after I watched that bacteria and parasite deception video, I started eating raw meat. But it was just a weird path. I went from Sean Baker to going on a vegan channel. I never would have found Sveria unless this vegan would have accused me of being one of Sverige's like minions. It's pretty funny. WT says, cooked cat documentary made me go raw primal. People have ruined their health in 3 generations. I'm witnessing it now. Yeah, dude. The cooked cat? That sounds a little weird. You mean Pottinger's cats? Yeah, Pottinger's cats is some damning evidence, man. That'll make you never want to eat cooked food either. Very damning. Danny B, do you think cooked meat tastes good? Oh. I don't think cooked meat does taste good, but if you throw in some like spices and stuff like that, it's freaking delicious, dude. I actually had some ribs at work. My boss made some pork ribs that were like all seasoned and spiced up, and they were freaking delicious, man. Cooked meat, like spiced up and stuff, is the only thing I can eat cooked that I have no problems with, but I only do it like once every like few months when someone either invites me out to a restaurant or, obviously like dates and stuff like that. You got to make some like rare exceptions, eat like a rare steak. That's really not too bad for you. You know what I'm saying? And I had no issues eating like spiced up food. You know what I mean? It's interesting. Thanks for the super chat, Kai Salas. Wow, vegans inadvertently helped the raw community by piquing your interest in Sveria, and then you started your own channel, red pilling more people on raw. Exactly, man. Isn't that funny? That's so funny, dude. That's how I found it. I'm gonna watch that Matthew Walker Joe Rogan thing about the dreams. That sounds pretty interesting, man. Daniel says Ray Vonder Pietlanitz. Funny stuff. What's up, Wild Style? You just about to get out of here, man. Wild Style says I had my first rare steak last night. Raw inside, it tasted like butter. Yum. Thinking about going raw, eh? Yeah, I'm definitely going to check out that Matthew Walker. Thanks, Danny B. Appreciate it, man. Good guy. Appreciate the channel. Keep exploring. Thanks, man. I will never stop learning, man. Never stop learning. Never stop exploring. Keeping an open mind is the best thing to do. And staying humble and learning from others. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, making my lubrication formula video. Got a lot of criticism on that, and so I just remade the video because I realized that you guys were right. So, it's a lot easier to shake it up in a jar than blend it. Just simple stuff like that, man. The internet can be really hypercritical, but I'm a tough guy, and for the most part, I have a thick skin. Sometimes it shows through, but for the most part, I have a thick skin, and I'm willing to accept criticism as long as it's healthy criticism. And that's the reason that I've made it as far as I have today in my diet, because when I first started out my channel, like, I was eating just steaks, raw steaks, store butter, store eggs. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, man. And slowly through the comments and everything, people being like critical of my videos, it made me never want to make a video ever again where I could be criticized. You know what I mean? Because nobody likes really being criticized. And so it just made me kind of like step up my game a little bit, you know what I mean? And it kind of rise to the occasion, I guess you could say. And it also coincides with something I learned a long time ago. Someone taught me this. There's a lot of like really, really good nuggets of wisdom you can learn from people online if you just understand that there's some like really, really wise people out there. And someone told me that the best way to learn something, to learn the truth about something, is to push out basically a false idea. So, and like post it publicly, because you'll be sure that someone's going to come around and correct you, And that's basically what I've done inadvertently, and a lot of times on some of my videos is I'll put a video out, some things will be incorrect about it, and just it's like you can guarantee every single time that someone's going to come up and correct you and show you what is the truth, you know? So it's just an interesting thing I've learned. But all right, guys, this has been a good stream. I think I'm going to check out for the day. Everybody keep eating raw meats. God bless. Some good questions tonight. Y'all take it easy. And maybe I'll see you guys tomorrow.